On this episode, I'm going to be showing you how to fix a damaged plank on your flooring. I'm going to be showing you how to fix those long gaps on your laminate vinyl plank flooring or LVP or engineered wood flooring if the gap is located on the long side of the plank. So stay tuned. Welcome to Fix This House. If you're new to the channel, please consider pressing the subscribe and notification bells. You can always be in tune on DIYs, how-to videos, and product reviews that I do within this channel. Today's episode is a special request by a fellow subscriber who is asking me how to fix these gaps when the gap is on the length or the long side of the plank. I know I did a video already on how to fix gaps on the short side where the two planks meet from end to end. If you want to check out that video, I'll leave it on the link right on the top side. We're gonna use this pretty much some of the same techniques. So in this episode, I'm gonna be showing you some few tips and tricks on how to fix these gaps, okay? So just a quick explanation on why this happens on your flooring. This is vinyl plank flooring, or what you can call luxury vinyl plank, LVP. It's a floating floor, meaning that it's not glued to the subfloor or it's not nailed down. Few laminate products, LVP and engineered wood floors are this type where it floats on top of the floor and it tends to shift whatever direction expansion and contraction happens on your flooring. That's why we keep it floating and we leave those 1/4 inch gaps all around the border. Well, over time, you're gonna have movement, and obviously if you have kids like me, they tend to run around, play with their cars, they go back and forth, and over time we leave these mini gaps right here, which will tend to separate little by little, which will cause a domino effect and cause the other adjacent flooring to separate as well. You have two ways that they will separate. It'll either be on the long side, but the most common ones that tend to separate is on the short side of the plank. So I'm not gonna rule out this shoe technique because sometimes it does work. I'm not saying it's guaranteed that it will work, but try it out anyways. It all depends on how tight and how well these click and lock systems on each end of the floor are. If they are loose, then this will tend to work just fine. But if your floor is still pretty brand new and it's nice and locked in here, this will be a little difficult to do, because if you think about it, if you kick this in right here, it will separate on this end right here, which you'll end up doing the same thing on each plank before it. It's going to be a little bit more difficult now too, that if this doesn't separate and you're trying to kick it, is you're actually putting all your weight behind all the rest of the planks before it, which will cause minimal movement forward. So hopefully that makes sense. That's why I'm not trying to rule this technique out, but you never know. Sometimes it will work. In this case, it does not. So if this technique doesn't work, let's move on to technique or tips and trick number 2. So we can use the suction cup technique. I'm not ruling this out. I'm just saying that this is one of your options if you want to try to do it or not. I'm not saying it's guaranteed to work. In this case, I could already tell that this might not work already because this is connected to other planks along this run, and if I try to tap it, it's not going to be enough force for me to close it up. And if I do try to tap it, it might just come undone, and I don't know. We'll try to see. Let's do a suction cup on here, close it up, and try to tap it. If you try to close it up on that way, it will work when you tap here, and this will move this way. So it's not like that situation. In this situation, it's a little different. If you do try to move it, you might get a little bit of movement here. This technique might work if this might be the second to the last or the last plank on the run, but I'm just saying don't rule this technique out. Try it for yourself. So the third tip and trick that I want to show you is the most effective one out of all of them. I did here is I got 2x4s that are close to the same length of the vinyl plank that we have. Same thing here. I went and cut 2 of the same sizes. Make sure that the bottom portion is nice and clean, and then we're gonna apply double-sided tape on here. You can put double-sided tape on this whole run. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna cut into sections right here. Same thing on the other side to save material. But if you have enough double-sided tape, why not? Go for it. Okay, so I'm gonna apply double-sided right here, section right here, and a section right here. So unfortunately, I ran out of double-sided tape. I might have to just use half of this. So I'm gonna cut that in half, like so. And I'm gonna have to move this on this side. I'm gonna flip this over, put it on one end. And you wanna try to do it as close to the edge. You don't wanna make it too far. You just wanna put like about a half inch to an inch. Same thing here. Now before you put any pressure on this, you don't want to stick it all the way through. We're going to be using these bar clamps. So you can actually make little pieces of wood. It doesn't have to be this wide like this 2x4. If you do use little pieces of wood to do this, it might work, but might not be as effective. And you might be able to get away by using these smaller bar clamps. But in this case, as you can see, this smaller bar clamps won't meet from end to end like what you see here. So what I'm gonna have to use, I'm gonna be using this larger bar clamps right here. If you wanna know where I got these bar clamps, I'll leave it in the description down below. Check these out. But either or, you can use these. But again, the bigger bar clamps will be a lot more powerful when you try to close these gaps up. What you're gonna do is you're gonna try to position this like so where you want it. So in this case, I want it like this. So I'm gonna arrange my bar clamps to go on this direction. All right, just like that. Now that I've set it to where I want it, this is where we can start putting pressure on this like so to make the 2x4 stick. I'm gonna put my body weight on top of here because that's what we need to make contact. Okay, and then we're just gonna clamp this down and see how it moves. Nice. So you don't want to close this up too much. Just leave it where it is. You don't want to try to close it because you're gonna have to level out. Like what I mentioned on the other side, the plank is gonna shift on a tilt. Okay, if you clamp this up, it's gonna on the other side it's gonna tilt up. This is gonna tilt down. So you're just gonna slowly leave it on this position. And let's go to the other side because now it is lopsided. Okay, so now let's move on to the other side. You can see the movement, and then just try to close it up like here. Okay, see that? So what you're gonna do sometimes when it's a little harder to do, you're gonna try to tap it along here so that you can get that tongue to go inside that groove or whichever direction it is. What you can do now is loosen this up. Okay, and we can keep this here, and then we're gonna try to move this on the middle. It's all about what pattern you want to go to. You want to go this side, that side, middle, this side, middle. Make it a pattern, or you can go middle, side, side. It's all up to you. And I'm gonna close it up from there. So there's a little bit of movement in the middle. Notice how I'm just, I'm clamping this bar clamp slowly. And then once that's done, I'm gonna release it, put it back here, clamp it on the side, and now I'm gonna move on to the left side. Well, my left side, and then just close it up from there. Now you probably understand why I did a long 2x4 piece about the same length of the planks. It's because that, for example, if you use a small piece, let's just say this is a scrap piece, you put your double-sided tape. Two of these you put right here, you clamp it. Now you're gonna have to take that off and move it to the right, take that off, move it to the middle, and so forth. By the time you're doing that, your double-sided tape is pretty much worn out, dirty. Now you gotta go get a clean rag and clean off that double-sided tape and repeat. With this technique where you just got two long 2x4s, notice how easy it is to move these clamps back and forth without having to do any of that. And here is the status so far if you guys want to see it. Let me zoom in. Notice how it's slowly closing in there. I know it doesn't look as much like there's things that happened, but look at that. It's starting to close little by little already. Another tip, I'm 175 pounds. The clamping force on this, I do not know. It's a little strong. So if you can have a second person to stand here with you while you do this and add more weight to push this down while you're clamping, even better. Another reason why this planks might not fully close all the way, you want to look at other adjoining columns or rows that you have for your planks, and some of them have gaps as well, like what you see here. You will have to go and close this as well. Try to do that. So I know it's a little bit tedious going back and forth, but that's one of the best ways I could think of to close these gaps. We're gonna go and try to move this, go on this side, do the same thing here, close that up, and then go to the other side as well. See where that gap is? Try to close that up, and once those make full contact, then we can start moving this puzzle piece forward, because those are the hindrances that we have, this one and that side, from making this fully close on this side. Took out the 2x4 on this end. You can still see that there's a minimal gap there. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this 2x4s and move it on this end so I can close this gap up. Let's try to clamp this side down. Put a little bit more. See that? Gap is gone there. And if we look at the gap that we were originally trying to close, which was the one right here, the gap there, there's a little tiny bit left, but it's a lot better than what we were working at before. If I can show you the before. Now it's very normal for the joints to have a gap like that. Now it's easy to close that up. Wipe this area first. Wipe your suction cup tool. Place it on this end and just tap this. See that? I know the suction cups moves, but it did close up that gap. So the same thing that you did on this side, you'll repeat the same thing on the other side. Notice that once this closed up, it pretty much followed through and it closed up right there. Given there's a little bit of tiny gap right there, but it's way better than what it looked before. So the main takeaways of this video is pretty much using these 2x4s, cutting them in the same length of the plank, and pretty much using the double-sided tape, friends. What I could have done better, I wish I did, was I wish I had enough double-sided tape, because pulling these planks out and replacing them and repositioning them in different places will wear off your double-sided tape, and it will even tear it apart. If you take your time and you use the right equipment, you can accomplish in getting these gaps closed up. You might not get it 100%, but you will get it closed up to look better than what it looked before. As you can see, this area on this vinyl plank flooring has taken a huge hit and huge damage. You can see that this is about a 3-inch wide damage, so there's no way that we can patch this, but we have to replace this whole plank. This technique will work on laminate and engineered wood flooring as well. I don't guarantee that this will work for every type of floor. But just a word of caution, I don't know what warranty you have on your flooring, but most warranties, if you do customization or work on your floor, it will probably void it. So this is the risk that you might have to take when you're doing this project, so just take that into account. With that being said, let me show you how to lay this out so we can cut off for this area and try to replace this plank only. Let's go. Just to give you an example of what type of flooring that we're working here is, this is a click and lock, meaning that there is a locking system when you put these two together and just hammer this or use a mallet. Also, this is a tongue and groove, meaning that on the tongue you can place it right underneath the groove and it will snap together like that. This is also a floating floor, meaning that it's not glued to the floor or nailed to the floor. It is floating on top of your subfloor. So this part is not necessary. I just want to indicate which plank we are going to be isolating. This will help us determine which one to work on. Use the straight edge, and I'm going to be using a visible Sharpie for you friends. This doesn't have to be perfect. You can just draw a line straight in the middle of this plank. You're going to draw like a Y. You're going to have two angles, 45-degree angles going from each edge, like so. Notice right there in the edge, I didn't mark all the way to the edge of that, just so that we don't mark or write onto the other flooring around this damaged area. Same thing on this side. We didn't go all the way to the edge. When you're using the oscillating tool at the edge, be very careful. Stay away about 1/4 inch and then make your cut from there. And then once you make your initial cut, go start moving along the edges little by little. You don't want to start at the edge right away because this thing will move and it will slide. And if it runs, you will risking damaging the rest surrounding areas. This tool right here, I'll leave on the description down below. Get one for yourself. This will save your hands and a lot of time. So it looks like it bent right here, about 1/4 inch or 1/8 inch away from the actual click and lock. So I'm just gonna use my utility knife and slice the surface. Carefully tap that out and take out that extra piece right there. Now that we got everything nice and cut, this should be the easiest part because all we have to do is lift this out right here. That should pop off like that. Pretty much right when you get those triangles off on each edge, the rest will just pop out like that. Easy. There you have it. You have an open area. Now let's get a new plank. Here is our replacement piece. Pretty much it's just a regular plank. Look in here, on the left side, this is where the longer tongue is. This is shorter tongue. I'm gonna save the longer tongue and I'm gonna shave off this shorter side. Using my cut piece right here as my backing, we're just gonna follow this. Be careful, don't go too crazy, take your time. You might wanna practice on the scrap piece first before trying it on the initial, but you just wanna graze this area right here and cut off on the 45°. So notice how it's just cutting this on a 45, and it's okay if it cuts off like that. You want to do it by sections, and if you don't want to try to do it all at once, especially if you're not familiar, just take your time and go on the 45, just like so. The most important thing here is you don't want to go over and chip off the edge right here. This is what you want to preserve. If you have areas that you missed like here, I'm going to show you how to relieve that in a bit. There you go. We got these little strips out of there. Now we're going to do some fine tuning. Flip this over and then you're just going to shave off the excess right here. Here's another example right here. It's a little bit raised. Take your utility knife and just fillet that area. So once you flip this over, you see that there's no more lip. See, that is nice and clean and flush. If you see any gray sticking out, flip this over again and then fillet that area and smooth it out. So before I actually try to test fit this piece on, I want to show you the situation that your open area needs to be. See this right here? This can have a lip on the edge. It's fine if it's a little bit damaged. This flooring is going to go on top of it anyways. This right here, it still has a little bit of lip. The other side has a wider lip. Okay, And then if you go all the way to the edge right here, this one has no lip. We're gonna do the same thing like we did before. We're gonna fillet it, make it a 45 cut. Like so. See that? Just takes a little bit of finesse. And there you go. That tongue is gone. There's a little piece that it's getting on the way, so we might have to chip off a little bit on this edge right here. So let's do that right now. Let's chip out a little bit. There we go. See if that will fit. Boom. You can flip this over, and again you can fillet it on that side. Same thing here. Fillet it on the edge. Nice and clean. Another important thing is make sure you clean up all this chips out of here. No interference, so that when we lay this new floor, there's no bumps. I like to use this floor suction tool and a mallet. Again, I'll leave all the materials, including this one, on the link down below. I made a video on how to fix gaps using this. Check out that video on the right side. We're gonna use the suction cup, put it on a new piece. And doing this will allow us to move this new piece now underneath it. We're just gonna test fit it for now. It fits real nice. Go zoom in here. Fits perfect on that side, and it fits perfect on there. So the glue that I like to use is this 2P10. It has to be the thick version because it's a lot better. There's a thin and a medium kind. The thick allows it to pretty much have a lot more volume to compress the tongue and grooves and the areas. So use this. I'll leave this in the description down below as well. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna lift this up. And we are going to apply the glue around here, this tongue, and this tongue as well here, and a little bit around here. Once we get that glue on there, then we're going to place this and lock it in. You got about a minute or two for this glue to set, but you're going to go and just tuck this in like so, and we're going to tap it in with our mallet. Boom, 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 and we should be done. Okay, so be very, very careful when you're applying the glue. Once you get that glue in, carefully just slide it in, put it down, take your mallet, tap along the edge. Now what I suggest, if you have weights like this, place it on top, just so that you have weight to make the glue settle and dry. Once that glue dries, and just take it out, and you should be having a nice replaced floor. See how nice and flush that is? Oof, perfect. Edges are nice, clean, no more damaged floor. So friends, I hope you found value to this. You can do it, just take your time, use the necessary tools that you need. But again, the oscillating tool is the perfect tool to removing the old flooring the fastest way. Use the suction cup, use this 2P10 glue, and you should be fine. Just follow the steps that I showed you on this video, make those proper cutouts, and hopefully you found value and found this easy to follow. If you did, please hit that big thumbs up for just to support the channel altogether, and please press the subscribe and notification bell. I have more flooring videos for you friends. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you next time.